in August. That's excellent. Excellent. Hopefully it gets juicy, but probably not today because we know who's on the stand. So, got my Maria chat on. That's not right. That's not OJ. That's not OJ. There we go. Speed is correct. I'm going to press play. Let's go.
Sustain.
All right. Let's start with this hypothetical. Assume that you have a red swatch, such as the ones that you use in this case, and the DNA from blood on that swatch has been degraded, and it's no longer human DNA, it's bacterial DNA.
Yes.
Can that act in a way that's similar to the non-human DNA you were talking about as a carrier?
Yes, it can.
Sorry, no foundation, speculation, you're wrong.
Sustain.
Ask this, I think I asked this a hypothetical, Your Honor.
It was, but there has to be a foundation for the expertise to give that opinion.
Dr. Gerdes, how can you tell us more about your experience with using carrier non-human DNA and how that affects other DNA going onto that non-human DNA? What's your experience with that?
Well, you recall I talked about the fact that we work with this virus called cytomegalovirus. And it turns out that when we looked at that virus in transplant patients, since they're immunosuppressed, a significant percentage of those patients tend to shed that virus, and it's present in their blood, and you find it, and in low levels. Now the problem then became you're finding it too often. We need to identify which patient needs to be treated. So we developed a quantitative PCR. And for that quantitative PCR, I needed to develop standards that could be used as quantitative standards that were stable and could be run over and over so that I can measure the amount of CMV in the patient versus these standards. In the process of creating the standards, it became obvious that a carrier DNA was required to maintain the stability of those DNAs. Now that's my personal experience with a specific incident. It's well known in other publications, other analytical procedures that this is a very common procedure.
What,
Oh,
now, what carrier did you use with the human DNA of the cytomegalovirus?
We use something you can purchase called salmon sperm DNA.
Is that salmon sperm DNA commonly used as a carrier?
Yes, that's why it's sold commercially for molecular biologists.
Now, if you assume that the blood swatches in this case were degraded and consisted of bacterial DNA, could that bacterial DNA act as a carrier?
Yes.
No foundation, calls for speculation.
oral.
And as a consequence, if you assume that bacterial DNA was acting as a carrier, would that account for cross-contamination showing up in greater amounts on the stained items that consisted of, under our hypothetical, of bacterial DNA as opposed to the blank swatches?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Oral.
Yes, that would explain it, because on the swatch that has nothing on it, there's no stabilizer. Therefore, you would lose the small amount of contaminant. On the swatch with the bacterial DNA, there is a stabilizer, and therefore it would remain there.
Now, are you familiar with Mr. Sims's testimony with respect to his view of the role that the substrate controls played as a check against cross-contamination?
Yes.
Are you familiar with his answers to the questions that, as far as he was concerned, the substrate controls would have to run strictly in parallel with the other stained items to be a check against cross-contamination?
Yes.
All right. Now,
Sorry, objection, misstates the evidence.
Oral.
what do you understand that assumption of running in parallel to mean? What does it mean to you?
Well,
Today was the date
again,
that was scheduled.
The image of transferring from one item to the next by handling it. One control for that would be when you handle something with a large amount of DNA, the next item you handle has no DNA. So if that happened, you would pick it up there. And then the next item would have DNA, and then the next item would have no DNA, and then the next item would have, and so forth. You alternate between a sample that has DNA or should have DNA and a sample that has no DNA. So that's what's meant by running them in parallel. It's more like in series, really. You have to alternate a sample with DNA and a sample without DNA. And that should control for this cross-transfer.
Now, In your review of the way that the substrate controls were handled in this case, did you see evidence that they were not handled strictly in parallel in terms of how LAPD distributed them?
Yes.
And what was that?
Well, these items at one point were sent to two other laboratories, Cellmark Laboratories and the Department of Justice. And this process of handling in parallel, or in series, whichever you want to look at it, and as we described, that has to occur all the way from the very moment you start with an item till you get a result, and it doesn't matter what lab you do it in, it has to happen, it has to be sort of a chain of custody, it has to follow that flow at all times. When the LAPD mailed their specimens, the evidence items, to both DOJ and to Cellmark, they failed to mail the controls, the substrate controls. To me, at that point, that has broken the chain of custody. The Department of Justice, from the notes I have, had to call to ask for specimens, the substrate specimens, and they didn't run them in parallel because they had to have packaged them at LAPD without handling the substrate control. If you think about it, if you're packing these things in a package and they're only mailing one, why would they handle it in parallel and then just not send the substrate control?
Objection, no foundation, Your Honor.
Overruled. But Mr. Scheck, I'm not comfortable with the terminology of chain of custody in this context.
Let me get it this way. In your work in paternity,
Yes,
do you have familiarity, is the term chain of custody used in terms of handling of evidence samples?
it is.
And how does that arise?
Well, in a paternity action, obviously, it's another legal action. You need to have documentation of every individual who's handled a specific item.
And the American Association of Blood Banks regulates your paternity lab?
Yes,
Do they have rules that incorporate the term chain of custody?
yes,
Are you familiar with how that works?
yes.
And in terms of DNA laboratories generally, are rules set up for handling items of evidence to preserve their integrity for testing?
Yes,
Are there such rules in your transplantation work?
yes, and in clinical work, yes.
And have you reviewed protocols of forensic laboratories that talk about ways that samples ought to be handled to preserve the integrity of evidence?
Yes.
Now, is it important in your judgment when implementing rules, and I'm asking you this now in your capacity as a DNA lab director, but how many people have you supervised, how many people work in the IAD laboratory?
There's approximately 40.
All right, and right now, specifically under you, how many technicians do you supervise?
I have 4.
And in terms of training people technical people to go through with the DNA,
Only Scheck would hear the judge say, yo, I have issues of you using chain of custody in this context, and then double down and go through chain of custody over and over for a bit. And if Marcia would have did that, Ida would have flipped.
DNA process, how important is it for them to know the purpose of the procedures they're following in terms of their use as controls?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
How important is it to train personnel about the controls that they're using and why they're using them?
It's extremely important.
Why is that?
Well, protocols are there for a purpose, and they need to be followed. That's how you standardize and the testing result, and that's how you guarantee it's a valid, accurate result that can be relied upon. So it's important that they're trained in that protocol and that they follow that protocol.
And incidentally, in terms of, for example, does that have application in terms of the use of gloves?
Yes, all aspects of how to handle the specimens and how to set up the testing and how to interpret the testing and so forth.
Well, is one purpose of wearing gloves to protect in a DNA laboratory to protect the handler,
Yes,
and is another purpose to protect against cross-contamination?
yes,
Now, have you reviewed the testimony of Mr. Fung and Ms. Mazzola with respect to what they knew about the purpose of the substrate controls?
yes.
All right. And now, besides, so it would be fair, do you feel, withdrawn. So, based on your review of the way samples were handled, in terms of distributing them and the way they were, the review of the testimony here about how the substrate controls were handled, are you comfortable with the assumption that the substrate and controls were run in parallel here?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained.
Let me get back to it this way. In terms of the In your review of the LAPD laboratory strips in terms of contamination, what is the significance of the degree of contamination you found in the extraction control versus the amplification control?
The significance is that it indicates that the area in which contamination is occurring in this laboratory is an early area, most likely in the DNA extraction or sample handling.
Now, besides your view that about the substrate, your views about the substrate controls being handled in parallel, the fact that negative controls don't always, clean negative controls don't always indicate contamination, and the notion of carrier. Do you have any evidence from review of the data that indicates that there was cross-contamination of DNA between samples handled by Mr. Yamauchi in this case?
I believe there is some indication of that.
And does this cross-contamination show up, does this evidence show up not just in the way samples were handled at LAPD, but how they were typed then subsequently at DOJ and Cellmark?
Yes.
Now I would like to move to
Bobby, it's Saturday. What are you doing today?
Dr. Gurdizar, are you familiar with the fact that on June 15th, 1994, in the evidence processing room and at the serology lab, Mr. Yamauchi handled item number 12, blood drops recovered from the foyer of Mr. Simpson's home, and the reference sample from Nicole Brown Simpson and the reference sample from Ronald Goldman?
Yes.
Now, on this chart, there's could you explain what the
Sure.
code is over here?
Yeah, these indicate the typings for the three reference individuals, the DQ alpha and one locus, the GC locus of the polymarker gene system.
So those represent the genotypes for the three individuals here?
Yes.
So on the DQ alpha,
On the DQ alpha, there's a 1.1, 1.2 for Mr. Simpson. There's a 1.1, 1.1 for Nicole Brown Simpson, and there's a 1.34 for Ron Goldman.
and on the GC locus and the polymarker system, what are the types for these three individuals?
On the GC locus of the polymarker gene is a BC for Mr. Simpson, an AC for Nicole Brown Simpson, and an AA for Mr. Goldman.
Now, the next three boxes indicate something called LAPD typing sheet, Cellmark typing sheet, and DOJ typing sheet. But what are those?
These are the recorded results that were found on the typing sheets on those dates when these specific references were typed.
Now, let's move first to June 15th, 1994, when Mr. Yamauchi did this initial typing. I take it he recorded for item number 12, the blood drops found in the foyer, Mr. Simpson's genotype 1.1, 1.2.
That's correct.
All right. Now, with respect to the reference sample, could you tell us what was recorded and also what you observed on the sheet?
Yes, it was recorded as a 1.1, 1.1. And on the actual typing, I can see a very faint 1.2.
All right. Now, I think we have to do some exhibit marking here, Your Honor. This, what are we up to as far as this course is?
1308.
1308. I'd ask that this DNA hybridization sheet be marked 1308A.
So much.
And could you point out, direct us to the,
I'll
you want-
see the code to be sure.
Please feel free to, you can approach the end of it. If I may.
I gave everybody his Tinder profile, didn't I? Didn't I link that? Or did I keep it for myself?
Now, this isn't showing up very well up on the screen, but there's a very faint in this area.
Could you please just, excuse me, could you please,
Go up a little higher. If you look here, there's a shadow. If you look on the next strip, there isn't a shadow. It's very faint,
Bobby, women are already crazy.
and there's a 1.2 right there.
okay, can we print that out, please? As 1308B. And Dr. Gerdes, did you, have you reviewed typing sheets from the Department of Justice and strips and become familiar with their nomenclature with respect to traces, faint traces, very faint, hints, etc.?
Yes.
All right, and is that an objective or a subjective set of distinctions in
Very
your opinion?
subjective. Very subjective.
To the best of your ability, could you write in under NBS reference sample and give your using this black pen, could you write in the genotype that you see there and how you would characterize it?
Based on my understanding of the testimony from the Department of Justice, I think they would characterize this as a hint of a 1.2.
Your Honor, before that happens, I have an objection to that being marked on the board in its current form. I believe I raised that to the court previously.
Actually, I think you ruled on this.
Oh,
Now, with respect to Mr. Goldman's reference sample, the LAPD records there a 1.34 and is the term very faint 1.1 what's on their record?
It's on their report, yes.
All right. Now, and you can see that very faint 1.1 on the strip itself.
Yes. Should I put the arrow on it?
And so we'll call the new arrow here.
It's right here.
Okay. Make this 1308C. Your Honor, may I, if you could, maybe the simplest way to do this is, could we go back, this was 1308B, I believe, this is the print at. Could we make one print at where, put NBS by the arrow where you're indicating the 1.2, and let's put RG on the right-hand side so we can identify the strips. Inside the strip? No? Yeah, that one, right, NBS. And below that, we'll write RG. Oh, No, that's the wrong strip. Go up one. Yeah. Is that correct, Doctor?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on the, and we'll print that out as 1308B. Now, in the DQ alpha system, when one has a the 4 allele is showing, and there is a 1 allele there, does that mean that means that dot that we've indicated there, we see in Mr. Goldman's sample there's a very dark dot that's 1.2, 1.34. Is that correct?
Yes,
And that's this so-called masking problem with the 1.2 allele, correct?
that's correct, because this particular dot will detect a 1.2, 1.3, or a 4. It's not specific to the 1.2 only. So if there's a 1 dot as well, then you have to count the possibility that there is a 1.2 there, if there's a one dot and 4.
Now, so in terms of Mr. Goldman's reference sample, what would that mean in terms of how you would call the existence of a 1.2?
Well, you have to consider the possibility, at least, that it's been masked, and it might be there.
So could you please draw there 1.2 and underneath the other box, possible?
Yes,
Is that your understanding as to...
yes.
Okay. So, from looking here at the LAPD typing sheet, now, with respect to item number 12, is it your understanding, sir, that item number 12 were drops in Mr. Simpson's foyer that were the last blood drops collected on June 13th?
That's correct.
And is it your understanding that that item number 12 had sufficient DNA in it to get a strong band RFLP result at Cellmark?
Objection leading.
Sustain.
Do you know if they got an RFLP result at Cellmark?
Yes.
Was the concentration of the DNA in item number 12, certainly compared to the so-called Bundy blood drops, 47, 48, 49, 50, and 52, comparatively higher?
Same objection.
Sustain.
Well, do you know if Mr. Yamauchi handled item number 12 in the same time and location as he handled the reference samples from Nicole Brown Simpson and Mr. Goldman on June 15th?
Yes, he did.
Overruled.
Yes, he did.
All right. Would these typing results be consistent? Well, what are with a cross-contamination of item number 12 with the 2 reference samples?
Same objection also calls for speculation.
Sustain.
All right. What do these results indicate to you?
Same objection.
Overruled.
These results are consistent with cross-contamination of the 1.2 from item 12 into Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman's reference samples.
Now, what is in terms of the PCR process? What is competition? What does that mean?
Well, if you're trying to amplify the DNA from 2 contributors, and there's a very large amount of one contributor and a small amount of the second contributor, the larger amount is going to tend to amplify faster, and therefore it will outcompete the smaller amount. So if they would have vast ratios, something in high concentration with something in low concentration, most likely the lower concentration contributor will have very weak signals.
So, aren't the reference samples from Mr. Goldman and Ms. Nicole Brown Simpson, wouldn't those be, by definition, high concentration?
Yes.
And yet still you see these alleles.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the Ronald Goldman reference sample here, this 1.1,
Yes.
in theory, could that be consistent with the so-called DX artifact?
That is one of those situations, as we mentioned earlier, where you have a 1 dot because of the 1.3, and then the 1.1, and now you can't determine. It could be either or. It might be DX. On the other hand, you can't really say that it isn't a contaminant either.
But what about the 1.2 dot on Nicole Brown Simpson's reference sample? Is that an artifact or a contaminant?
That's a contaminant because the 1.2 doesn't have that kind of artifact, and if you see anything on there, that means there's DNA there.
Now let's move to the next typing of reference samples of Nicole Brown Simpson and Mr. Goldman. Was done at Cellmark on August 5th, 1994.
That's correct.
All right, and what's written on Defense 1308, are those what Cellmark recorded on their typing sheets?
Yes.
And first of all, were you able to observe, or do you have a photograph of these strips?
I believe I did. Actually, no, I don't. I have a Xerox is all I have with me of cell marks. No, I have to. Oh,
Yeah, the photograph.
I have it.
We mark this as 1308C.
1308C.
Yeah. Now, with respect to, these strips represent both the DQ alpha and what other system?
The polymarker system.
Now, what can you say about the C dots in your observation of the reference samples from the Cole-Brown system and Ronald Goldman?
The C dots, which are specifically on the DQ alpha system, as you can see, are extremely light on all three references.
And,
In fact, I don't see any C there at all, but it is recorded on their typing sheet as being present.
well, let's go through that. In other words, when you look at the actual photograph taken, you don't see a C dot.
I don't know.
But when the typing strips were developed at Cellmark, an analyst wrote something down saying that they actually saw a C dot.
Yes.
Now, would you indicate here the faint, you don't even see a C dot on this.
No, I don't.
And what's the significance of a light or non-visible C dot in terms of being able to see contaminants?
Well, the C dot is designed as an internal control in the system to tell you if you have enough DNA there. If you don't see a C dot, the user guide, the rules, if you will, tell you that this is not an interpretable result. You can't count on that typing because there's too little DNA there.
But would it be a fair statement that the fainter the C dot, the less likely you are to see low-level contaminants?
Absolutely, yes, because the other way the C dot can be faint is the last step in the process is to develop it, just like you would develop film. You watch this develop. And if you stop it too early, underdevelop it, then you won't see the C, and you also won't see light dots, other light dots that happen, that may have been there. They won't show up.
Now, could you please mark faint C then? How would you characterize? Faint C is what Cellmark put on its
How
records?
about C question mark?
All right, please put that on both reference samples. Now, was there, however, what is the significance of the faint B recorded on the polymarker system for Nicole Brown Simpson?
Well, the significance of that is a second gene system. And you can cross-check one gene system with a second gene system. And remember, Mr. Simpson has a BC, and Nicole Brown Simpson has an AC. So the presence of a B here is consistent with the B from Mr. Simpson finding its way into Nicole Brown Simpson and then not being detected until it gets to Cellmark, where they use a second gene system.
Objection, move to strike speculation, Your Honor.
Sustain. Answer stricken.
The B,
I believe you,
in terms
Bobby.
of the
Apparently
polymarker
everybody
system,
did.
is that a contaminant or an artifact?
But that's a contaminant.
Contaminated.
Let's move on to the next time the reference samples were typed at the Department of Justice.
Yes.
Was that on December 31st, 1994?
Yes.
All right. And what do the typing sheets from the Department of Justice indicate?
The Department of Justice recorded on Nicole Brown Simpson a 1.1, 1.1 with a faint trace 1.3 and a trace of 1.2.
All right. Now, with respect to Mr. Goldman, what did they record?
Mr. Goldman, they recorded a 1.34 with a faint trace 1.1.
All right. And given the rules of interpretation, what does that mean about a 1.2?
You would also have to consider the fact that in this setup that there might be a masked 1.2.
Could you please write 1.2 possible under there? Would this data from the Department of Justice, well, let me start again. Is that 1.2 trace on the Cole-Brown-Simpson reference sample, is that an artifact or contaminant?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustain.
In your opinion, based on the principles of the DQ alpha system as you understand it, what does the appearance of that 1 point dot indicate?
Objection.
It indicates contamination.
Now, with respect to the 1.3, could that be an artifact?
In this case, again, that is known to have a cross-hybridization problem under certain circumstances. And the difficulty here is we also have the one allele showing up again because of the 1.1, and therefore you can't really tell if this is an artifact or real.
And when you said the circumstances where 1.3 is an artifact are what kind of circumstances?
With high level of DNA, which this may be because it's a reference sample, and the fact that there's also the one dot showing.
In your opinion, sir, does this pattern of typings from these three laboratories, is that consistent with evidence of cross-contamination at LAPD that was subsequently picked up in typings at Cellmark and DRJ?
Objection leading calls for speculation.
Sustain.
What, in your opinion, is the significance of this pattern of typings?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled.
My interpretation of this pattern is it has two possible explanations. The first explanation is that there is cross-contamination of Mr. Simpson's blood into Nicole Brown's
Good news.
or Ron Goldman.
I've already forgotten everything they've said.
Laboratories
So,
that LAPD
easy.
sent their specimens to.
Easy
The second
peasy.
explanation is that there are possibly contaminants and artifacts that are found at LAPD that are also found at Cellmark and also found at DOJ, and those artifacts just happen to be consistent with the contamination of the cross-contamination pattern.
So in other words, there would have to be at LAPD, with respect to Nicole Brown Simpson, that 1.2 would have to be LAPD contaminating it,
Yes,
but and the 1.1 would be an artifact.
yes,
And then, with respect to the Cellmark typing, the B would have to be an independent contamination at Cellmark.
yes.
Objection leading calling for speculation.
Sustained. Answer stricken.
All right. What would that B have to be if this weren't your first explanation? That is cross-contamination at LAPD that was picked up to the other two labs, but a series of coincidental contaminations and artifact. What would that B in the polymarker system have to be?
Same objection as to, calling for speculation.
Sustained.
Well, what would the B in the polymarker system have to be if this were not cross-contamination that started at LAPD, but another explanation?
Same objection.
Overruled.
That B would have to be a contaminant that coincidentally is consistent with cross-contamination.
Oh, my mic is still on. Sorry.
What about the...
Yo, yesterday was crazy. Okay, listen. Where I live, there's a ton of outlets. Why I didn't know this and think about this before in my brain, I don't know. I don't know. But I have to drive my daughter to work in the mornings while you guys sit here. I go past a freaking mall, a big mall, to do that. So in the morning, it wasn't that bad. 7:30 in the morning, it was okay. So I wasn't prepared for the rest of the day. Then I go to work. And it's right past these outlets. Oh man, it was bad. And then when I get off work, I have to go past those same outlets to get home, but I don't go home. I go and I pick my daughter up from work past the mall. So when I left my job yesterday, driving past those outlets and then past the mall to get my daughter was unbelievably insane. Every single parking spot in these places were jam-packed, and cars were all over the road, and they're all doing illegal things. They have to get to a certain point, and they can't just drive and follow the traffic rules. It was insane. I don't ever go out on Black Friday. Never. I've never been a Black Friday shopper. I think I went 1 year in my 20s, and I got a bread maker. I never even used it. I mean, I make my own bread. But, oh my gosh. Driving yesterday, it was worse because the night before I got no sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was so stressed out. Couldn't sleep. So, I just wanted to get home. Well, I got a text message at while I was driving. I don't check my text messages while I drive. I just don't. So, my daughter had texted me while I was driving to pick her up after I got off work. Mom, you got to pick Anthony up first. You got to go get Anthony right now. He's about to pass out and they're going to call an ambulance on him. Well, gosh knows I can't afford no frickin' ambulance, but I didn't see the text message because I was driving. So I get my daughter first, obviously, and she gets in the car and she's like, wait, we got to go get Anthony. So I drive to Lidditz to pick up Anthony, and I walk in. It's a very expensive restaurant, okay? I walk in through the dining room to the window to the kitchen, and I see 2 of the 3 chefs there. I'm like, oh no. And I see my son standing there. He's cooking. He's cooking next to one of the chefs. And I'm there to pick him up, but he's working. So the text message we got was he was about to pass out, and the chef was going to call an ambulance. So I needed to go get him. So he doesn't acknowledge me at all. He's standing right next to the chef, and it's his 3rd day at work. And the other chef knows me, not knows me, but knows me from picking up Anthony the last days of our life. And she looks at me and she gives me this look that explained everything. She saw me and her face lit up. And then immediately she looked over at Anthony and it fell. And I thought, oh my God, oh no. So Anthony wouldn't acknowledge me. He didn't want to talk to me in front of the chef. So there's a bar. Okay, I'll just wait for him. You know, he's sick. He must go home. So I'll go get a beer. And I did. And it's a really expensive restaurant. And my beer was only $5. Yeah. And I didn't feel bad about spending it because I made a lot of money in tips yesterday. It was a good day. So I got my beer, sitting with my daughter. She's not drinking. I don't know why. I don't know. And after an hour, I just leave. I'm like, okay, I guess he's just going to stay at work. I was exhausted. I don't even know how to describe how exhausted I was. Well, I came home. I must have went into the bathroom when I came home and put my keys down in a very unfortunate spot. And then I went into my room and I was asleep before my head hit the pillow. My eyes were closed. I was out. So Anthony gets off work at 11:30 p.m. My daughter wakes me up. You got to go get Anthony. Okay, I'm going. And I fall right back to sleep. My daughter wakes me up. Mom, you got to go get Anthony. Okay, I'm going. I was so tired. I get Anthony. He gets in the car and his whole finger is covered in bandages. He's like, Mom, I don't even know what happened. I had bought him these knives when he started this job. I don't know what they're called. Please don't ask me. But they're like kitchen knives. And I bought him this carrier for his knives. He can add to it for his birthday. And he's like, Mom, those knives you got me are super sharp. He said, I was cutting open a package. And I just barely touched my finger with the knife. And he said, I don't know what happened. There was blood everywhere. Sorry, I have a cold. He said there was blood everywhere. And I went to the sink. I washed it off. I put a Band-Aid on. And the blood just came out through the Band-Aid. And it was going blah, blah, blah. He goes, so I put another Band-Aid on. And that didn't work. And I'm at the sink and there's blood everywhere. And the chef finally notices. Chef Ashley, the lady. And she goes up and she actually bandages it in a bandage and then puts one of those, finger condoms on the bandage. And he goes, and then I had to throw everything out. I had to clean that. I had to sanitize that whole station because the blood he just nicked his finger a little bit and it was at the tip. And I didn't even know there was like a major blood vessel right at the tip up here, but he just nicked it. He goes, okay. So then it's like 30 minutes later, Mom, and I was doing something else with the knife. And I must have had my hand too close to it. He said, because I cut my hand. I said, but no, I don't want to show Chef that. She was already at her limit with me. He goes, so I washed it off. I ran to the medicine cabinet, got a Band-Aid on, sanitized the knives, threw all the food out, sanitized the station. He said, then I put my knives away. He said, I'm not touching those knives anymore. So he says, but that's not the problem. He says, then I started working. I was doing great. I was making something sun-dried pesto, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like woozy, like I couldn't move. And I thought I was going to pass out. I saw stars. He said, I whispered to the other worker I was with, go get Chef Ashley. Go get Chef Ashley. Chef Ashley comes over. What's the matter? He goes, I'm going to pass out, Chef. I'm going to pass out. She's like, what? Because he just cut his finger a little bit. He goes, yeah, I can't. I don't know what I'm going to do. She goes, I'm going to call an ambulance. He says, don't you dare call an ambulance. I can't afford an ambulance. She said, no, it's workers' comp if I call an ambulance. He says, don't you dare call an ambulance. She says, we are in the middle of service. I need you. Do you need to go home? He says, I don't know. I can't. I'm going to pass out. She goes, go into the stairwell and eat something. Go sit in the stairwell and eat something for a few minutes. That's when he sent the text messages to Tiffany, like, they're going to call an ambulance. If they, So that's when I drove there. And it was after that he had eaten something and got back up and got on the line. But, oh my gosh. Welcome to the kitchen, Anthony. He is continually, it's his third day and he's gotten hurt quite a few times in that kitchen. But yeah, but the question you asked was working yesterday. Yeah, the drive was insane. Hopefully the drive today and tomorrow is easier. Yeah. I'm looking at my schedule. My poor kid. I mean, he loves the job. The pay is shit. $17 an hour to work in, like, a really upscale restaurant. But it's full-time and he gets health insurance after 90 days. So that's big. Then he can call an ambulance. I remember I was driving him home last night. It was like midnight. Past midnight. I was driving him home and he's telling me this story. And I'm like, Anthony, if that woman would have called an ambulance, listen, I would have went in there. I said, she wouldn't have been able to hide. I said, if you would have let her call an ambulance, I would have gotten both of you. There's no way in the world we can afford an ambulance at any situation. There's no situation I can possibly think of that we can ever utilize an ambulance service, ever. So when they throw around words like, we're going to call an ambulance, hell no, you're not going to call an ambulance. Put him in the back seat of a car. I mean, he cut his finger. He nicked his finger. He doesn't need an ambulance for that. That should not be a $10,000 bill for me. It just shouldn't. So, he didn't go in an ambulance. But that's fine. I don't know if he works today. He should take a day off. He needs one. Back to work.
The DOJ typing. What about that 1.2? What would that have to be if this were not cross-contamination that started at LAPD?
That would have to be, again, coincidental appearance of the 1.2 that is consistent with cross-contamination from Mr. Simpson's blood to Nicole Brown Simpson's.
And then the 1.1, what could that be? 1.1 in Mr. Goldman's sample.
Oh, in Mr. Goldman's sample, it's the same answer. As it would have to be a DX for an artifact that's consistent with cross-contamination.
Thank you. Data, Dr. Gerdes, what effect does that data have on your view with respect to the efficacy of substrate controls that were used at LAPD in this case?
No foundation, false speculation beyond the expertise of the witness.
It undermines my confidence in those controls, since there is some evidence here that the cross-contamination occurred.
Now, I'd like to move on now to Did you examine the data concerning typings made at the Los Angeles Police Department and the Department of Justice on samples that were collected
At work.
from the Bronco console on June 14th?
Yes,
So there was one set of samples collected on June 14th, is that your understanding?
yes,
And then after that, it's your understanding what happened to that vehicle? Have you been following the testimony on that?
yes, I have.
You reviewed the records on that?
Yes,
And you're aware of the fact that it was released to Vertel's tow yard without a special protection for biological evidence box being checked?
yes,
And you're aware that it went to Vertel's for a period of time?
yes,
And you're aware that the car was broken into at least once?
yes,
Sustain.
All right.
Also mistakes there.
It does. Sustain.
The car was broken into, there's been evidence the car was broken into once.
No, there hasn't.
I'll withdraw all of this. Have you reviewed the data just from the June 14th collection?
yes, I have.
Now, I'd like to move to another.
I'm sure they're about to have a sidebar because I need to go to the ladies' room. I'll be right back. Be good. I'm sure there'll be a sidebar. I'm sure. I could. But I have to make a video first. I gotta make a video. Then I can do food.
1309.
And I'd like to mark a photograph, and forgive me, I think that a copy of this photograph may have been introduced as a prosecution exhibit, but I can't figure out which one it was.
Proceed.
Try it again. Make this 1309A. Now,
I'm sorry, could I see it here?
oh, sure. Just a minute.
I knew it. I knew it. Really? Come on. I was joking. Oh, by the way, I said I put my keys in an unfortunate spot. 45 minutes. That's how long it took us to find them last night. Oh, now the sidebar's over. Yeah. We're going to get through this testimony soon.
1309A represent those series of strips.
You want to show it to him up
Yeah.
close?
I think he knows it.
And then maybe they can hear me now.
These were
You're all
items from the Bronco,
assholes.
taken DNA items from the Bronco. They were typed at Department of Justice.
Take pictures of the Department of Justice
Pictures of the
strips?
strips, yes.
And you also have their scoring sheet with respect to that.
Yes, I do.
And on 1308 itself, have we taken certain strips, enlarged them, and then made and then taken DOJ typing sheet data?
Yes.
And in fact, in the upper left-hand corner here of 1308, we see another picture of 1308A. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, LAPD item number 30 is that a stain from the, blood stain from the Bronco console?
That's correct.
And is item 31 also a stained swatch taken from the Bronco console on June 14th?
That's correct.
These are all items taken June 14th.
That's correct.
And QC 816, what is that?
That is a quality control specimen, and at the Department of Justice, they take known samples from known individuals and run them through in a blind fashion so that they can tell that the typing is being done correctly. So this would be a quality control numbered 816 that would have a particular type, and it would be run as a control at the time they did the typing.
And what is this strip marked positive control?
The positive control is the control that is incorporated or packaged with the kit. It's a DNA that is a 1.14 DNA that's run just to check the strips.
All right. Now, is there one control in this series of strips that is not included in this large chart?
I believe so.
And which one is that?
The extraction blank, is that what you're talking about? Yes.
Okay. And that control had no, did that control have any evidence of activity?
No, that's the DNA extraction blank, and in this particular case, it looks clean.
Now, what was the typing call by the Department of Justice for LAPD item 30?
Item 30 was recorded as a 1.1, 1.2 with a hint of 1.3.
And that, in this case, has been called as a genotype consistent with Mr. Simpson, is that correct?
That's correct.
By the Department of Justice.
By the Department of Justice.
Now, LAPD item number 31, what was the call made by the Department of Justice and testified to by Mr. Sims in this case?
They recorded this item as a mixture of a 1.1, 1.2 as a large contributor and a minor contributor of a 1.34.
That is, in fact, what appears in their typing sheet?
Yes.
And was the 1.34 called by the Department of Justice as being a genotype consistent with Mr. Goldman?
It was.
And to make that call, what must the analyst say about that 1.3 allele or dot? Is it, in terms of being it a real allele or a contaminant?
In order for it to be recorded as a real allele or a typable allele, it should be greater in intensity than a C dot.
But in terms of, was that 1.3 called as a real allele or real DNA?
It was considered in terms of the report because it was mentioned as a minor contributor. Yes, it was.
Now, on the quality assurance control, QC 816, what is the expected genotype for that?
The expected genotype on that quality control was a 1.2, 1.2.
All right. And what was recorded by the Department of Justice in terms of the alleles or the dots seen on that strip?
They recorded, in addition, they recorded a hint of a 1.3 and a 1.1 dot.
All right. And looking at the positive control, what's the expected genotype for that?
The expected genotype is a 1.14,
And what did they find?
and they found a 1.3, and they recorded that as a hint of a 1.3.
Now, in view of the 1.3, or the hint of 1.3 that is recorded on QC 816, and the hint of 1.3 recorded on the positive control, in your opinion, what is the purpose of these controls in terms of the appearance of dots on other strips in the same run?
The purpose of the controls is to ensure that the typing was run appropriately and all the controls worked. In this particular case, this hint of 1.3 on both of these strips indicates, at this point we don't know what it indicates. It indicates either there's an artifact, the 1.3 remember can do that, and we have a presence of a 1 allele, so we can't determine whether that's the case or not. It could be a contaminant, or it could be an error in this particular run in the way that they ran their hybridization.
And incidentally, you said the 1.3, when it appears as an artifact as opposed to a real foreign DNA contaminant, how much DNA has to be put into the template?
Well, in order for that to be the explanation, you need greater than 6 nanograms of DNA.
Now, in view of the 1.3 showing up as hints in the quality assurance sample 816 and the positive control, in your opinion, is it scientifically acceptable to call the 1.3 on LAPD item 31 as a real allele?
Objection. Lack of case on part of witness.
Overruled.
No, you can't call that allele because your controls are showing weak signals similar to that. You have no confidence because the control has failed as to whether or not we have a similar thing going on this particular item. You can't ignore the 1.3 on your controls and then count it on something that was run during the same run as being real. There's no way scientifically to determine at that point whether that's the case or not.
In terms of the Bronco console and samples that were collected on June 14, 1995, other than LAPD item number 31, is there any other DNA results from that console that is consistent with Mr. Goldman's genotype?
Objection, leading and argumentative.
Sustained.
Is there any other DNA result from swatches taken from the console on June 14th, ooh, that's wrong. Your Honor, may I make a correction on the board?
You may.
Here's a black. I'll let the record reflect on 1308. I am changing 6/14/95 to 6/14/94.
Thank you.
Thank you. In terms of the DNA results from both the Los Angeles Police Department and the Department of Justice, from bloodstains taken on the console, from the console, that were collected on June 14th, not August 26th, but June 14th, are there, other than LAPD item number 31, are there any other results that are consistent with Mr. Goldman's genotype?
No.
So as far as the June 14th collection is concerned, item 31 is the only evidence that's consistent with Mr. Goldman's genotype on that Bronco console.
That's correct.
And it's your opinion, sir, that the controls failed as far as LAPD item 31 is concerned,
That's correct.
and that this cannot be called.
That's correct.
Now, in terms of development length, could you indicate what that is?
As I explained, the last step in these strips is to allow that dot to develop, and it's just like developing film. It's not exactly the same, but it's a good analogy, so that as you develop, you can see the dot getting darker and darker. And the longer you wait, the darker the dot will become. And when you stop it, then that stops the process.
Now, in the LAPD protocol, withdrawn, in the Department of Justice protocol, what is the time frame that they indicate they will develop the strips in? How many minutes?
20 to 30 minutes.
All right. And in this particular DOJ typing sheet, did they indicate how long these particular strips were developed?
Yes,
And what was that?
25 minutes.
Water pumps are so expensive.
Mark this as Defense 1310.
1310.
Smaller pictures, Your Honor, that correspond with, that are also on this board, one of which I'll mark 1310A.
And these are DQ alpha strips from October 31st.
That is correct, Your Honor. And 1310B.
And those will be DQ alpha strips from December 31st.
Thank you, that's correct. Now, Dr. Gerdes,
Certainly.
LAPD item number 52, is that one of the Bundy blood drops?
Yes, it is.
Is that the Bundy blood drop that Selmark got an RFLP result with between 25 and 50, or around 25 nanograms of human DNA?
That's correct.
Now, what was the typing at the Department of Justice with respect to LAPD item 52?
For item 52, they recorded a 1.1, 1.2 with a 1.3 C trace,
C minus?
C minus.
What does that mean in their nomenclature?
That the C minus?
Yes.
Actually, I'm not sure what the C minus means.
But what does trace mean?
Trace simply means that there's a very small amount. C minus, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Pardon me. C minus means it's less than a C dot.
Or that's what they've called.
That's what they call it.
All right. And what was the genotype reported in this case for LAPD item 52? What did the DOJ report as?
They reported a 1.1, 1.2.
All right. Now, let us assume that DNA from the item number 52 degraded through bacteria and was subsequently, those swatches were subsequently cross-contaminated with DNA from Mr. Simpson. And the genotype of the original source of that swatch included a 1.3.
Yes.
Would, in theory, this typing be consistent with that kind of mixture?
Objection, assumes facts not in evidence.
Sustain.
No foundation.
Sustain.
If one were to regard this 1.3 dot on LAPD item 52 from the DOJ typing as a real allele, just asking you to assume that,
Yes.
what would this be in terms of, would this be a mixture?
Objection calls for speculation, assumes facts not in evidence.
Oral.
Yes, it would. It would be a mixture of these three, of individuals, all possible combinations of individuals with those three alleles.
All right. Now, in terms of the various systems that we're using here, DQ alpha, D1S80, and RFLP, which of the systems is the most sensitive?
In terms of detecting DNA, the DQ alpha system.
All right. So if there's small amounts of DNA, it will show up first on the DQ alpha system.
Yes.
All right, Doctor, would you take half a step back, please?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, what was recorded with respect to, what is QC877?
That is another quality control sample that happened to be run with this particular run.
All right. And what is the positive control?
Again, that's the positive control, the 1.14 that comes with the kit.
All right. And what did the Department of Justice indicate they found with respect to the 1.3 dot on QC877?
But once again, they record a trace of a 1.3 on this quality control sample and a hint trace of the 1.3 on the positive control.
Now, in the Department of Justice, withdrawn. Did the Department of Justice subsequently rehybridize item number 52?
They did.
All right. And when was that?
That was on 12/31/94.
All right. And what results did they record?
On rehybridizing, they recorded a 1.1, 1.2 with a 1.3 very faint trace.
All right. Now, can you see that very faint trace in this picture?
No.
All right. Is that something that was recorded by them when they first saw the strip?
Yes.
So by their own records, what are they indicating about the 1.3 when they rehybridized it?
Well, they're indicating that they saw something on their record, and but I don't see it on the strip.
All right. Now, do the records indicate from the Department of Justice how long they developed this rehybridization on December 31st, 1994?
Yes, 22 minutes.
All right. Is there any indication of how long the strips that were hybridized on October 31st, 1994 were developed?
I couldn't find any record of it on that sheet.
Could you please indicate, not indicated on those brackets? Now, the longer the development time, what happens in terms of these dots?
They become more intense, especially faint dots. The faint dots will begin to appear.
So, would it be fair to say that if you develop the strips less time, as opposed to a greater time, you're less likely to see faint dots?
Objection, leading.
Sustain.
All right. What happens if you develop within a framework, a bracketed framework of 20 to 30 minutes, in terms of developing these strips, and the likelihood of seeing faint dots? is it greater? When is it greater and when is it less?
The DOS will be more intense at 30 minutes and less intense or lighter in 20 minutes.
So it's a gradation. The longer the development, the more you see it.
Yes.
Now, in your judgment, do you have an opinion with respect to the limitations of the DQ alpha system and the protocol as implemented here in the Department of Justice with respect to development length?
Objection vague.
Yes, I think that the development length should be standardized to a greater degree in order to provide for more reliable and cross comparison of two different strips. They have to be developed at the same time in order for you to really compare the two.
Is there a problem, sir, with dots appearing when you develop them for longer periods and then disappearing when you develop for shorter periods?
Objection meeting, also
Sustain.
beyond expertise.
Dr. Gerdes, in terms of the DQ alpha system looks at what gene?
Looks at the DQ alpha gene.
Right.
HLA, DQ alpha.
In your laboratory, do you use systems to detect the DQ alpha gene?
Yes, I do.
What systems are they?
They're a dot blot system. It's not this particular kit, but it's a similar dot blotting system.
What kind is it called? This is called reverse dot blot.
This is direct dot blotting.
That's what you use?
Yes.
Are you developing PCR systems
Yes.
that involve direct dot blotting?
At the present time, we're using them. We're not really developing them at the moment, but I have in the past, yes.
D1S80, what kind of a system is that?
That's a short tandem repeat system for PCR.
And with respect to the CMV, did you develop a PCR-based system to detect that?
Yes.
Do you have any qualms at all about your expertise as a molecular biologist to interpret the protocols and the operation of the DQ alpha system?
Counsel, the objection that was sustained was leading.
Oh. It wasn't as to expertise? Okay. Thank you. Dr. Gerdes, what is your view? Let's do this in our remaining minutes. Could we put because we're running out of time, maybe we could, I could even dragoon some people into hold them, maybe that would do it?
I don't know. I think your colleagues didn't like that terminology. They'll volunteer. All right, Mr. Harris. Thank you, sir.
All right,
Making sure you don't block off the court reporter.
let's just try it this way. With 13.089, this is the Bronco Console Board, and item number 31. Did this 1.3 dot that I'm pointing to on LAPD item 31, how did they call that?
They call that as a real allele.
Did they call that as a contaminant?
No.
Did they call that as an artifact?
No.
They call that as real?
Yes.
Objection leading.
Rule.
Is this 1.3 the basis of calling a genotype consistent with Mr. Goldman and the Bronco?
It is.
Is this the only evidence from the Bronco console, as the collection was done on June 14, 1994, that has a genotype consistent with Mr. Goldman and the Bronco?
Objection asked and answered.
All right, answer stand.
Could you
We did cover that once already, though.
I understand. Could you please, I have a circle here, Your Honor. Could you please put over that 1.3 and write in this circle, called real? Is that permissible, Your Honor?
Yes.
Right over this?
No.
To cover it?
Put it perhaps over it, to the side. You know, maybe
Below it?
below it and pointing upwards. Okay. Now, ask you with this marker. Oh, sorry. Now, with respect to the pointing out to LAPD item 52,
Yes,
pointing out to the dot that's 1.3.
yes.
How did the department call that in terms of whether that was real or an artifact?
Artifact,
Not real?
not real.
Could you please, on the sticker, and with an arrow, write not real and point downwards? Comparing these two analyses, in your opinion, as a DNA laboratory director, as a molecular biologist, as an individual that develops PCR typing systems, are these two calls scientifically consistent?
No, they're not.
All right, I think this is a good place to stop our next line.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss this case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. As far as the jury is concerned, we'll stand in recess until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. All right, thank you, counsel. And Dr. Gerdes, you're ordered to return tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. All right, we'll stand in recess. Record in the Simpson matter. Mr. Simpson is again present before the court with his counsel, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Scheck, people represented by Mr. Clark, Mr. Darden. Jury is not present. All right, counsel, anything we need to take up before we invite the jurors to join us? Mr. Thompson?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution asked for discovery of a successful grant proposal that Dr. Gerdes filed with the Advanced Technology Program of the National Institute for Standards and Technology. We have received from Dr. Gerdes' lab a copy of that grant proposal. However, there are serious concerns here about valuable proprietary information contained in this proposal. This is a proposal for a highly competitive U.S. government technology grant. The United States government found this proposal sufficiently promising with regard to the development of economically valuable new biotechnology that they awarded Dr. Gerdes and his laboratory $1.7 million to pursue it. However, the technology has not yet been developed. His laboratory has invested a considerable amount of time and money into developing this valuable technology, and they have proprietary rights to it. Therefore, we're extremely concerned about the public release of this information, and we're seeking a protective order.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to direct that no copies be made of this proposal, that it remain here in the custody of the clerk, be available for inspection by counsel for either party, and that before any cross-examination goes into it, we'll have a sidebar to determine whether or not that's an appropriate area of cross-examination.
That sounds quite acceptable, Your Honor.
And that at the conclusion of Dr. Gerdes' testimony, the copy we have will be returned to him.
That's fine, Your Honor. Shall I give the copy to the clerk then?
Please.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, have you had the opportunity to look at this?
I've not.
All right.
Just one request, and that is, could we simply be able to read it upstairs? I expect it is lengthy and detailed. All right.
Okay. All right, Deputy McNair, let's have the jury, please. Resume the witness stand, please. All right, the record should reflect Dr. John Gerdes is on the witness stand, undergoing direct examination by Mr. Scheck. Good morning again, Doctor.
Good morning.
Doctor, sir, you were reminded you were still under oath, and Mr. Scheck, you may conclude your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Dr. Gerdes, just a few more questions. First, I believe we discussed yesterday that in your work with transplantation and infectious disease screening, you mentioned that there are policies, protocols, rules with respect to maintaining the integrity of samples when they're received and handled in the laboratory. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you said that there are, in your paternity testing area, there are what, chain of custody procedures?
Yes.
And what are those?
Well, there are safeguards to ensure that we are analyzing the appropriate individuals in that case. And basically, it simply means that every person that handles the specimen has to record that fact or document that fact so that you can follow the history of that particular specimen and know exactly where it came from and who and at what time that was handled, that specimen, who handled the specimen, when it was handled, how it was transported to the laboratory, and what state did it arrive, and all of the details that would be important to guarantee that that particular specimen is indeed what it's supposed to be, and that there was no possible chance that that specimen might have been tampered with or in some way compromised.
Now, Dr. Gerdes, even in the transplant work, if you receive a tube of blood that a doctor says is a tube from a particular person, but it doesn't have certain kinds of proper documentation, what are the rules and procedures in regard to that?
Well, according to CLIA 88, which is the law in a clinical laboratory, if a specimen arrives at the laboratory without an appropriate request form specifically stating what test is to be done, and if the specimen has not been labeled with the patient's name, we cannot analyze it.
What do you do?
Well, you call the physician and you tell them that an error has been made and have them redraw a new specimen.
What is the practice and procedure with regard to the receipt of specimens in packaging that shows evidence of having been opened and then repackaged?
Again, that's a break in the chain of custody. That item could not be analyzed. We would inform the individuals, the parties involved, and we would start over.
So in other words, the history of the handling of a sample is a lab question, a scientific issue.
Yes.
Doctor, do you have an opinion about the reliability of DNA testing results on samples recovered from the Bronco console on August 26th, that is samples 303, 304, and 305?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained.
All right, have you examined the results and the history of the samples 303, 304, and 305?
I have.
All right. And do you have an opinion with respect to those results?
Same objection.
Sustained. I'm more concerned about the history aspect.
Are you familiar with the testimony and the documentation as to what happened to the Bronco after samples were first collected on June 14th?
Yes.
All right. And are you aware of what happened to the Bronco in the console, where it went, what procedures were involved in maintaining its custody until the time it was then again sampled on August 26th?
Yes.
Now, do you have an opinion about the integrity and reliability of the DNA test results on the samples recovered from the Bronco console on August 26th, 303, 304, and 305?
Objection, no foundation beyond the expertise of the witness.
Over.
Yes. And what is it?
Those samples have obviously as I just described, the chain of custody aspect of those samples has been broken. We don't know what, or at least we can't be assured that something or someone or number of individuals might not have been in there. In fact, there's testimony that I've read that states that in fact happened.
Well, excuse me, objection, move to strike, no foundation.
Yes. That part of the answer will be stricken.
Based on just the integrity of the sample handling of the Bronco, do you have any confidence in the results of those, from a scientific point of view, in the results of those tests?
No, you can
No foundation. Beyond the witness's expertise.
Over.
you can no longer have any scientific confidence in that.
Now, there was a question I forgot to ask you yesterday, and I apologize for it, concerning the charts and the data that you put together in your analysis of strips, runs, and extraction controls and negative controls in the period of May through July of 1994, and the overall charts. And that is, did you include in your analysis the strips and 2 runs that were involved in this case?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, the purpose of that analysis was to assess the level of contamination before and after this specific incident case, and so that's why I did it that way.
I have some additional questions now about RFLP results. I believe you gave us testimony yesterday concerning your views of the RFLP result on LAPD item 52, and which was analyzed on the morning of June 14th by Mr. Yamauchi, correct?
Yes, yes.
All right. And you've expressed your opinion and concerns with respect to that RFLP result.
In terms of cross-contamination, yes, it could be cross-contaminated.
Now, let me ask you about some other RFLP results. Do you feel that cross-contamination could have accounted for the RFLP results consistent with Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson on the Rockingham glove?
Objection, no foundation, also leading.
Sustain.
All right. Have you looked through the amount of DNA and the paperwork on the analysis performed on the RFLP tests done on the Rockingham glove with respect to results consistent with Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson?
I have.
All right. Have you actually seen those order ads?
Yes.
Do you feel that cross-contamination could have accounted for those RFLP results?
No foundation calls for speculation.
Sustain.
Well, do you question those RFLP results on the grounds of cross-contamination?
Same objection, also leading.
Sustain.
All right. What is your view of those RFLP results?
Same objection.
Sustain. Foundation here, Counselor.
Have you reviewed the data on those results?
Yes, I have.
All right. Do you feel, what is your opinion in terms of the issue of cross-contamination in those results?
Same objection. Foundation also calls for speculation.
Sustain on foundation.
The amounts of DNA in those samples, do you have an opinion about whether or not cross-contamination could have accounted for those results?
Objection, foundation.
Sustain.
Have you looked at the amounts of, have you reviewed the amounts of DNA that were used for the RFLP test in those samples?
Yes.
All right. Have you reviewed the paperwork and the procedures used by the laboratories in testing those samples?
Yes.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not, what is your opinion with respect to the issue of cross-contamination in those RFLP results?
Same objection.
Sustain.
No. Your Honor, I'm confused.
Guys, he's confused.
Does the amount of DNA that is used with respect to, that is involved in an RFLP test and the sample handling procedures that precede it have a bearing on the issue of cross-contamination and RFLP results?
Objection, leading.
Yes, it does.
All right. What is your view with respect to the RFLP test results consistent with the genotypes of Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson on the Rockingham glove?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustain.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Proceed.
Are you questioning those results?
Same objection.
Sustain.
I don't know. Do you have experience doing RFLP testing in your laboratory?
Yes, I do.
All right. Do you regard the analysis of, do you take the analysis of different RFLP test results separate and independently? In other words, would you evaluate the have you evaluated separately the RFLP results, in this case, on each sample individually?
Yes,
And you have different opinions about different ones of those RFLP results?
I do.
Objection, no foundation.
All right. Can I ask you now, what is your view with respect to the issue of cross-contamination and the RFLP results on the Rockingham glove, those that are consistent with Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson?
Same objection.
Sustain. Let me see you, Counsel, over at the sidebar with the photo board, please.
As part of your analysis of the RFLP results, have you considered and evaluated the sample handling procedures with respect to, for example, the Rockingham glove?
Yes.
Now, what is your view with respect to whether or not cross-contamination could have accounted for the RFLP results consistent with Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson on the Rockingham glove?
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
In that particular case, there's an adequate amount of DNA. It could not have been explained by cross-contamination.
Now let me ask you, with respect to the RFLP results obtained by the Department of Justice in Cellmark on the SOC, particularly the cut-out section 13A, in terms of your review of the laboratory notes and how those samples were handled and the RFLP test results, do you believe cross-contamination could account for the RFLP results obtained on the SOC?
No, there's an adequate amount of DNA. Cross-contamination could not have accounted for that particular RFLP.
All right. Now, do you know how blood got on that sock?
No, I don't.
Do you believe that cross-contamination? Have you reviewed the RFLP result on the LAPD item 117, a bloodstain collected from the back gate at Bundy on July 3rd?
Yes.
All right. In terms of the way that sample was handled, what samples it was handled with, in terms of reference tubes and other matters, and the amounts of DNA, is there anything that leads you to believe that cross-contamination could account for that RFLP result?
On the back gate?
Yes.
No, there's an adequate amount of DNA.
So you're distinguishing between those results and the RFLP result on item number 52?
Yes, item 52 has significantly less DNA. It has only 25 nanograms of DNA, and that certainly could have occurred, especially in the manner in which these samples were handled. That particular item could have occurred due to cross-contamination.
And the events you described to us yesterday between
Yes.
9 and 11:20
You can
That's
just say hi all.
on June 14th.
Correct.
Poor Micah typed out everybody with exclamation points
Now, Dr. Gerdes,
and emojis.
do you consider have you heard paternity testing referred to as forensic science?
Thank you
some
for not
people refer
putting
to
a
it as that.
Because
knife anywhere in there.
forensic, I suppose,
OJ's
has a
sitting right over
definition
there.
that if it relates to court, sometimes it's called forensic, quote unquote.
Yes, some people define, forensics could be defined as a situation in which science and the practice of science interacts with law.
Now, when we were discussing yesterday the contrast between clinical applications and forensics, did you take forensic to mean having to do with the application of DNA technology to crime scene samples?
I believe that's what we were talking about at that time.
And so with that definition of forensic in mind, let me ask you these questions. First of all, in terms of your primary activities, are you a forensic scientist?
I don't consider myself a forensic scientist, no.
Have you ever gone to a crime scene and done collections?
No, I haven't.
Does your lab do forensic cases, that is, samples that are taken from crime scenes?
No, we don't.
You do paternity testing?
We do paternity testing.
Do you attend forensic meetings with members of police labs, government labs, et cetera?
No.
Based on your background as a microbiologist, a molecular biologist, and a DNA lab director, doing the kinds of things you've described to the jury, do you feel you were able to assess the sample handling techniques, the methodology, and the testing processes of forensic DNA laboratories that you've reviewed in this case, and I think you told us the 23 others that you reviewed previously?
Yes, I believe I can.
And you're familiar with their protocols and their practices?
I am.
Now, this report, DNA Technology and Forensic Science,
Yes,
this is by the National Research Council of the National Academy of Sciences?
that's correct.
All right. And was this an analysis of the application of DNA technology to forensics in the sense that we've been just discussing it here, analysis of crime scene samples and the like?
It was.
All right. And do you support the recommendations and analyses in this report?
I do.
Objection calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
Now, are you familiar with the members of this committee and who they are?
I don't know them personally, but I'm familiar with their credentials.
Some of them included forensic scientists,
I believe there are perhaps 3 individuals there who were forensic scientists, yes.
including Dr. Henry Lee?
Yes, Dr. Lee is
That-
one of those.
I'm sorry. Now, the chairman of this committee, Dr. Victor McCusick, is he a forensic scientist,
No, he's not.
but a molecular geneticist and
That's
biologist?
correct.
Dr. Haig Kazazian, what field is he in?
I believe it's in genetics.
And the medical applications of DNA technology?
Yes.
Dr. Mary Claire King, is she a forensic scientist,
No.
but a molecular geneticist?
Molecular
population
geneticist, yes.
Dr.
Excuse me,
Eric,
gentlemen. You're going to have to stop talking at the same time.
that's my fault, Your Honor. I'm really trampling on his answers. My apologies. Dr.
Yes,
Eric
it's your
Lander, is he a molecular geneticist and population geneticist?
Yes.
All right. Is he a forensic scientist?
No.
Dr. Thomas G. Marr of the Cold Spring Hartle Laboratory, Is he a molecular geneticist and biologist?
Yes.
Is he a forensic scientist?
No.
Now, one last series of questions, Doctor. We discussed the issue of proficiency testing a little bit earlier. Are you familiar with the discussion of proficiency testing in the National Research Council report?
I am.
Do you support those conclusions?
Yes.
And I'd like to direct your attention to, if you would the court like to see them first before I read them?
What page?
We just have a reference for
Sure.
for any question.
About page 100.
I'm sorry?
Never mind.
Starting at page 89, the second and third paragraphs.
Please have a moment now.
Mr. Clark?
Yes, ma'am, will you heard?
Yes.
Hi, wise old lady. This right here that we're watching right now is the best part. Because everybody shut up. Just for a second. They're all quiet. Shot. Time for a shot. The sidebar shot.
Doctor, I'm going to start reading a paragraph that's at page 89 of the NRC report and ask of your, what's your view of it and ask you to explain it.
Objection, hearsay as phrased.
Overruled.
Laboratory errors happen, even in the best laboratories, and even when the analyst is certain that every precaution against error has been taken. It is important to recognize that laboratory errors on proficiency tests do not necessarily reflect permanent probabilities of false positives or false negatives results. One purpose of regular proficiency testing under standard case conditions is to evaluate whether and how laboratories have taken corrective action to reduce errors. Reported errors should be based on proficiency tests that are truly representative of case materials with respect to sample quality, accompanying description, etc. Tests based on pure blood samples would probably underestimate error rate, and tests based primarily on rare and extremely difficult samples, which might be useful for improving practice, would probably overestimate. Although the California Association of Crime Lab Director proficiency test was less than ideal, being open rather than blind and not requiring reporting of size measurements, the materials appear to have been representative of standard casework. Now, do you agree with that judgment of the National Research Council?
I do.
Do you agree? Why is it important to have proficiency tests on samples that are representative of casework?
Well, I think as I tried to explain in that paragraph, you want to make the test at the same difficulty as what you're going to try and analyze. So if you make the test too easy, you don't really get an accurate reflection of what your error rate is, how often you might make a mistake. So you want to try and mimic exactly the type of thing you're going to analyze as possible.
And in terms of having a blind test administered by an outside agency, why is that important?
Well, if you know you're being tested, you just naturally try a little harder. And if you, so both in a clinical field, it's on our proficiency test that we have to state, I even have to sign, that I'm going to handle a sample the same way I would handle any other sample that came in from a patient. You just put it in with that batch that day and run it. And the same technician runs it, so you don't have the hot shot in the lab that's better at this do it. So that way you have an accurate reflection of exactly how many errors might occur or under your standard operating procedures.
Now, Dr. Gerdes, you mentioned that the National Marrow Donor Program, that is an external blind.
Yes.
Are all the proficiency tests that your lab undergoes from the various different agencies, are those all external blinds?
No, they're not.
All right, some of them are open tests?
Yes.
Now, in terms of the proficiency tests, just in terms of the samples that LAPD ran, were those, in your judgment, representative of the kind of samples that were being analyzed in this case?
You're referring to the validation specimens?
I'm actually referring to, well, both the validation specimens and the CTS and CAP proficiency tests.
Yeah, all of those specimens represented specimens with adequate DNA. They weren't degraded, they weren't aged, or they didn't mimic the crime scene specimens in any way.
Mm-hmm. And this case involves mixtures of bloodstains, some of which are degraded?
Yes.
And were there, in any of the labs that you've looked at, DOJ, the tests they took, Cellmark, LAPD, were they doing proficiency tests on those kinds of samples?
No.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right, Mr. Clark?
Take a break, would that be possible? The added material.
How long do you need?
I think it will really be more up to the defense how long they've given to review some materials.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a early break at this point. Remember all my admonitions to you, and hopefully we'll get back to you in about 20 minutes. All right, ask you to step back into the jury room, please. On the record in the Simpson matter, all parties were again present. Mr. Schick?
Your Honor, I don't know how Mr. Clark wants to proceed in terms of itemizing these things, but there's one chart entitled Los Angeles Police Department PCR DQ alpha testing controls, 1 through 6. I have no objection to that. There's another chart. Where's the one with the number of samples?
If we could, we're going to go through these, and I ask, of course, that the witness takes you.
Yes. Just wait outside, Doctor.
There's another chart or piece of paper which lists the number of samples and controls. In this case, I have no objection to that. Actually, Mr. Clark allowed Dr. Gerdes to look at that so we could just count them up and make sure they were correct. There are a series of quotations in slide form from the National Research Council, and I think on just about every one of them, I have an objection that they're taken out of context. That is to say, in every single one of them, it's sort of on the one hand, on the other hand, and they only give them one hand that favors them, and they'll leave out the next paragraph or they'll leave out sentences, and I don't know how the court wants to deal with that, one by one as they arise or in the context of the cross-examination or right now. There's a whole series of those.
Well, counsel, I think I've allowed you pretty free access to the NRC report. So my inclination is to allow them to point out whatever discrepancies they have, and if you feel that under 356 that there's a larger context, I'll allow you to bring that in.
Yeah, that, maybe we could just deal with it on a case-by-case basis and save time, because that's really the nature of the objection in each instance.
Okay.
There's another two pages called DNA testing, PCR, and RFLP consistent results, wherein they list, all they say is driveway, foyer, bathroom, RFLP number 12, PCR number 12, number 6, number 7, number 14. Then they do the same thing for the glove, the socks, the walkway, Goldman's boot. And I think that this is very misleading because it doesn't even indicate what the results are, who it's consistent with, and where, and what labs did it, et cetera. But the number one objection is it doesn't indicate who.
What it is, okay.
Yeah, and so I have a problem with that. And that's similar to objections I have. I think the only thing left would is the boards. The two boards, maybe we should pull those out. One board, perhaps we should take up first, called Concordance Cellmark DOJ.
Concordance,
Yes.
okay.
Given the care that we've taken with these words on boards, I don't like the word concordance in terms of being argumentative, but that's not really the thrust of
No, if you
the
may,
objection.
well.
I think that the real problem here is, again, all that's being done is listing items, listing probes, listing systems, and it's not informative as to what is consistent, what isn't consistent. There are tremendous complications here. We've had testimony, for example, on the steering wheel about Cellmark calling this 1.1, 1.2, and 4 as a mixture. The Department of Justice took a very hedged position, I'll put it that way, on this issue. So I think that this is all very misleading, and we have result boards that lay all this out, and I think this is unfairly argumentative and leaves out too much information and is really final argument and misleading.
All right, Mr. Wooden, is there another board that goes with this?
There's another board.
All right, this is entitled Results of RFLP DNA Analysis.
And again, this is something of improvement insofar as it at least lists the people involved, where there's consistencies. But again, it seems to me that, and in fact, I think this precise board was once ruled upon by the court in the context of the testimony of the other witnesses. I think I may be wrong, but I think it was a similar
No,
case.
this is the first time I've seen this one.
Well, there was one that just basically, it's an attempt to group certain RFLP results here, and it just seems to me that we have those result boards, and it's going to become unduly confusing, frankly. There are so many boards with so many results repetitively that I think that it gives the impression of it becomes cumulative, and I think it's unfair. They can go back to their initial results boards, which are organized by evidence item, and lab, and work with that and go through it with the witness, so we're dealing with the same set of data that's more complete data than are on these boards, and I think that that's an adequate way to do it in terms of presenting this to the jury, and it becomes unduly confusing and cumulative. And those are my objections to these boards.
Mr. Clark?
Yes, Your Honor. With respect to both these boards as well as the two charts that I believe Mr. Check addressed, perhaps I can address those 4 items first. We're in a different setting now than we were when we were examining witnesses as to results. This particular witness has called into question a number of items of evidence that have been tested for DNA in this case. He's called them into question by raising the specter of, in particular, cross-contamination. The witness is not present, so I will offer to the court that this witness has repeatedly testified in the past that if you have an RFLP result on a sample, that confirms the reliability and validity of a PCR result on the same sample. This board, I would say, will be, in my view, extremely important to convey that to the trier of fact about what this witness either will concede on the witness stand or will be sought to be impeached by previous testimony, that the role of these RFLP results is absolutely central for the reliability, in his opinion, of the results in an individual case. The particular board that's up now, entitled Results of RFLP DNA Analysis, is a way of presenting that information without having to put 6 boards up, one by one, and having to point out individually what particular samples we're referring to. This places the RFLP results in one location. It's not argumentative. It accurately conveys exactly what previous testimony has described. With regard to the concordance board, this witness has again opened up the specter of the unreliability of a number of the results in this particular case. One of, again, this witness's central notions from previous testimony is the importance of replicate testing, testing by more than one laboratory. In this case, as the evidence has already showed, there's been testing by 3 different laboratories. So this concordance, the consistency in terms of the ultimate results obtained by these various technologies is again central to demonstrating through this witness the reliability of these results.
Briefly respond. I think Mr. Clark's argument proves too much, because I think it's quite clear from this witness's testimony that his attack was only on one RFLP result, and that is item 52, that was handled in the evidence processing room on June 14th by Mr. Yamauchi under circumstances where he described it to be an unacceptable risk of cross-contamination. That's the only RFLP result that his testimony questioned, and we took all these other ones out. So it seems to me that to bring up a board, it is obviously cumulative. They should attack, if they want to attack him, they can attack him on that one. He's conceded he doesn't quarrel with the others. But this concordance of Cellmark and DOJ results is highly misleading and totally improper because it conflates results that are not spelled out in terms of the different typings which are at issue here, and they don't comport with what Mr. Clark is saying, and that is, there's an RFLP that confirms a particular PCR-based result, et cetera. So I think that this one is just there's very little question in my mind that this is highly misleading, argumentative, incomplete, and improper, and it oversimplifies the issues here. It doesn't even list included, not included, who this is. I think this concordance board is plainly improper on a whole host of grounds. And as to the RFLP DNA analysis board, it seems to me they can rely on the other one that they already have up there, and his argument admits that what they really want to do is put up a whole series of results which he doesn't question yet another time, when the doctor has come in here and essentially just questioned one RFLP and the circumstances surrounding it. So it seems to me that this argument really admits that the true intention here is to create yet another board in a case of many, many boards that would be confusing. And as far as that other set of lists, did you take mine? The court should really see these, I think. Do you have your own? You need a copy for me. Those are, again, highly misleading. They don't even list who's involved and what the results are.
All right, these are entitled DNA testing, PCR, and
You are
RNA.
abso-freaking-lutely not.
They have to do with
Insane
both,
woman.
items from Rockingham.
Go out and drink tonight. You know what?
All right, Mr. Chick.
Let me tell you something. If you go to a bar, like closest to your house, any bar, every bar, doesn't even matter. If you go there like 3 Mondays in a row, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 times in a row, guaranteed, you have a whole new group of friends that are always there. You don't have to drink a lot. You don't have to get drunk. But there's tons of people and they have fun. They have a very good time. You know, once a week, twice a week, every day. You know, some of them.
All right, Mr. Scheck, I think you downplayed the breadth and scope and effectiveness of your own presentation yesterday. I think you've opened up a whole line of questioning regarding the entire evidence collection process, how it was processed at the LAPD lab, and calling into question all of the subsequent results. I agree with you that, for example, the results of RFLP DNA analysis is cumulative in the sense that that information is included on several other boards, but since it compacts all of that information into one board, I find that it serves a relevant purpose, and it will save court time to have these 2 particular large boards here, so I'm going to overrule your objections.
Excuse me, could I ask the court to, I understand the court's ruling with respect to the
Mr.
RFLP DNA analysis board, but I'd ask the court to consider the concordance board, because I don't believe the concordance board does that. If
No,
you
I
take
think
a look at it.
concordance board, though, it shows consistency of results from different
No,
laboratories.
no.
So, all right.
But
That's-
this is misleading, because take, for example, the,
Counsel, I've heard your argument. I've ruled.
well, can I just be heard just with respect, there's one thing I left out, to call the court's attention
I've
about the
ruled.
steering wheel.
Counsel, I've ruled. Thank you. Let's have the jury.
And I assume there are no objections to the other items that I just cited.
I assume that as well.
Well, what about Your Honor, what about this where they don't even list who it is?
Objections overruled.
On this?
Yes.
Well, you're right, they don't even list who's involved, they just have item numbers.
I know, and it's on other items. It's on other pieces of evidence. It's on other display boards. I
No,
ruled.
but it's repetitive of those other
Counsel,
boards.
I think I've said it now 3 times. Thank you. Let's have the jury, please.
You know what you didn't say, Ito? You know what you should have said? And you didn't? Sanctions. $250. All I've been doing tonight is fast forwarding, but just a tiny bit, itsy bitsy bit, so it didn't
All right,
really
let the
do
record reflect
anything.
We've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Dr. John Gerdes is on the witness stand. now undergoing cross-examination by Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Morning, Dr. Gerdes.
Good morning.
Your Honor, if I may, I would like to use People's Exhibit 259, the Bronco Results Board.
Yes. Mr. Wood. Where are you going to place the easel?
In the middle slot.
All right, Dr. Gerdes, you'll need to step down to see that.
Dr. Gerdes, this particular results board, People's Exhibit 259, have you had an opportunity to either see this board or a recreation or copy of the board, if you will?
I've seen brief glimpses of this in TV coverage. I have not seen a copy in any other manner.
All right, I'd like to refer your attention, if I could, to what's labeled Exhibit number 30, Center Console. And with regard...
Item 30.
I'm sorry, item 30. Thank you, Your Honor. And in particular, there are results from the Department of Justice in both the DQ Alpha and D1S80 markers. Is that right?
Yes,
Those results you are familiar with, is
I'm
that
familiar
correct?
with the results, yes.
All right. Is it your testimony, Dr. Gerdes, and are you telling the ladies and gentlemen of this jury that the DNA in that particular stain could not have come from the defendant, Mr. Simpson?
I am saying that due to the way in which these samples were handled, the testing that was conducted in that lab, subsequent testing in that lab, there's a possibility of cross-contamination.
Does a 1.1, 1.2 exclude Mr. Simpson?
No, it doesn't.
Does a D1S80 24,25 exclude Mr. Simpson?
No, it doesn't.
Referring you to item number 31, the center console, are you familiar with the results that were obtained by the Department of Justice as to that stain?
Yes,
And results were obtained that included a 1.1, a 1.2, and a weaker 1.3 and 4. Is that right?
that's correct.
The 1.1, 1.2 does not exclude Mr. Simpson, does it?
That's correct.
The 1.3 and 4 does not exclude Mr. Goldman. Is that right?
That's correct.
With regard to the D1S80 results of 24 and 25, those are consistent and could have originated from Mr. Simpson. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the 24 could have originated from Mr. Goldman. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. That's it for the board at this moment, Your Honor.
All right. Can Dr. Gerdes take a seat back? Are you going to need anything else? Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark?
I'm sorry.
Is that the only exhibit we're going to use right now?
Yes.
Why don't we let counsel... Ms. Clark, why don't you let Mr. Wood handle that? All right. Thank you. I recollect we almost killed a juror the last time. Which is why we moved juror number 1, if you recollect. Yes. All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Gerdes, you described having visited the Department of Justice DNA laboratory in the past, correct?
That's correct.
And I believe you described for this case you visited that laboratory twice?
The Department of Justice?
Yes.
No.
How many
Once
ti-
in conjunction with this case and once in conjunction with the previous case.
You have visited the Department of Justice laboratory twice, correct?
Correct.
With regard to the Department of Justice, they have a one-way flow of evidence. Is that right?
Yes,
And
they
I'm-
do.
And I'm referring to evidence flow for purposes of PCR typing.
Yes.
You described yesterday that, in your opinion, evidence at the Los Angeles Police Department was brought back following amplification into the same area that it started out in prior to or at the time of extraction, correct?
Sustain. You just said area.
You testified yesterday that following amplification, DNA, amplified DNA that is, was brought back to the Los Angeles Police Department in the same area, correct?
Oral.
I stated it was brought back to that same location. It's not specifically the same room, but it's the same location.
Okay, so it's not brought back to the same room, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
You've been to the Department of Justice.
Yes.
When they're done amplifying DNA, where do they take it?
It remains in the amplification room.
Where's the amplification room in relationship to the extraction room?
I believe the extraction room is down a hall and in a large room near the entrance of the building, and the amplification room would be a different room, basically in the same building though.
Okay, what are they separated by? How many feet approximately? Department of Justice.
If I recall correctly, the hall would be 50 to 100 feet, perhaps.
As far as the Los Angeles Police Department, you took a tour of that lab, correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I do have one more exhibit I'd like to use, the photo board, which I believe is Exhibit 281.
I knew it. Mr. Wooden, when you bring that one up, would you just show it briefly to counsel so they can refamiliarize themselves with what it is? Yes. All right, we've seen that one before. Yes, Dan. Mr. Scheck, your client wants to see that. All right, proceed.
Now, Dr. Gerdes, if I could ask you to step down from the witness stand. And I'm going to refer you to what are the three photographs at the bottom of the diagram that are labeled PiperTech Product Gel Electrophoresis.
Yes.
In your opinion, is that the same area as DNA extraction is conducted at PiperTech as reflected in the top three photographs?
It's in the same building, it's not the exact same room.
What separates those two areas?
There's a hallway of, I don't know how long, I don't recall, but 50 feet perhaps.
There's more than a hallway, isn't there?
Well, there are doors into each of these labs as well.
Aren't they separate secured rooms?
I believe they are separate rooms, yes.
In your opinion, is that the same area, that is the product gel electrophoresis area, as the extraction area?
It's not the same area.
All right, thank you. That's sufficient with that board. So, Dr. Gerdes, when you testified yesterday that that material was brought back to the same area, were you incorrect?
I don't believe so, because there's another aspect that we didn't really specifically go into because I didn't want to go into a lot of detail. But they're at that amplification room at Parker, excuse me. That is where they autoclave all their solutions. And it's maybe 5 feet from the area where the amplification room is, just across a very small little hallway.
Sorry, objection, move to strike, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Sustain. Ask the question again.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yesterday you described these materials as being brought back to the same area at PiperTech, correct?
Yes.
Today you have conceded that in fact those areas, that is the extraction room and the product gel electrophoresis room, are not the same area, correct?
They're not the same room.
Well, they're not the same area, aren't they?
I guess not.
Now, in your opinion, you've had contact with work done by Gary Sims at the Department of Justice, is that right?
Yes, I have.
And in fact, you've reviewed, not only as a result of this case, but as a result of at least one other case, work done by Gary Sims, correct?
Yes,
And that's included work done using PCR DQ alpha typing.
that's correct.
That work, the work that you reviewed has included work that included PCR D1S80 typing, correct?
That's correct.
It's true, is it not, that in your opinion, Gary Sims is a very careful analyst?
I consider him such, yes.
With regard to actually performing forensic DQ alpha analysis, as well as D1S80 analysis, do you believe you're more qualified than Mr. Sims to conduct that testing?
I don't think it wouldn't be difficult for me to do that test. I don't think that either one of us would be more qualified than the other.
Are you familiar with the experience that Mr. Sims has in conducting PCR typing on forensic samples?
Yes,
That is a substantial amount of experience, isn't it?
yes.
How many times have you conducted a PCR analysis on evidentiary material, such as in this case?
We don't do PCR on evidentiary material.
Incidentally, with regard to the Department of Justice, it's your opinion, is it not, that they have an excellent handle on contamination as far as their PCR testing?
It's my opinion that every PCR lab, that this is a problem. I feel that they do an adequate job of attempting to limit that in their lab.
Haven't you previously testified they've done an excellent job?
Yes, I believe they have.
Now, I'd like to turn your attention, if I could, to your employment before you came to work for, and can we call it IAD?
Yes,
That's Immunological Associates of Denver.
that's correct.
That included your being a community college teacher, is that right?
Yes, there was a period of time when I taught at community college in Maui,
For how long, approximately?
5 years.
And as part of that teaching, did you conduct instruction by television in the areas of physiology, anatomy, and biochemistry?
I taught a class of anatomy and physiology on television. The biochemistry was not a TV class, but I taught biochemistry.
And was that, and referring to the TV teaching, you'd be in front of a camera and students could watch your teaching, what, in other parts of the Hawaiian Islands?
That's correct.
After that position, did you go to work for a pineapple company?
It was pretty much at the same time. I did.
And for what period of time?
I believe that was between 8 months to a year.
Following that, where were you employed by?
I was employed by the Veterans Administration in Denver, Colorado, at in charge of the MS Center
And then when did you begin at IAD?
in 1988.
Now, Dr. Gerdes, shifting your attention, and you described the fact yesterday that you have written in the area of DNA. Is that right?
I have publications with regard to various types of DNA analysis, yes.
All right. Could you describe for the jury how many of those publications are about forensic stain analysis?
None of them.
Do you have any publication that deals with the area of PCR contamination in forensics?
No.
Have you written any publication about the unsuitability or why PCR shouldn't be used in forensics?
Well, I consider my testimony to be public record, and I have done that 23 times, and I
Objection,
feel
move to
that's the
strike, Your
best
Honor.
way.
Sustained, answer stricken.
How many publications have you written, Dr. Gerdes, describing why PCR shouldn't be used in forensics?
None.
You have made presentations to people, and I'm talking about like a lecture format, about forensic evidence analysis, correct?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
What groups have those been to? In other words, who's the audience been?
Public defenders conferences?
And was that true on both occasions?
Yes,
And those are the only presentations about forensic DNA analysis that you've given?
that's correct.
Are you a member of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences?
No.
The American Society of Crime Laboratory Directors?
No.
Did you attend, for instance, the last annual meeting of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences?
No, I did not.
Or the one before that?
No.
Or any that have ever occurred?
No.
Have you attended any, well, first of all, are you familiar with the fact that DNA meetings are put on by, for instance, the Federal Bureau of Investigation?
They have forensic meetings, yes.
And have they had, to your knowledge, meetings about DNA?
Yes.
And these are, to your knowledge, are these fairly large meetings?
Perhaps we need to approach the sidebar.
No, I don't, but I think this will become cumulative in a moment.
There's something about the nature of these meetings, Your Honor.
But you can bring that out on redirect.
Let me actually withdraw that question and ask another question. Have you attended any meeting put on by a forensic organization?
Not specifically by a forensic organization. I have attended meetings where forensic topics were included as part of a broader meeting.
Objection, move to strike, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Or
Do you regularly talk with forensic experts?
Fairly regularly.
Who are those individuals?
Well, they're conversations in terms of cases that I'm involved with. So Ed Blake, for instance, Mark Taylor, Ben Grunbaum, Simon Ford, to name a few.
Are any of those individuals involved in this case?
I think some of them are in terms of consultants.
What about Dr. Blake?
Yes.
So you spoke to him in this case?
Not about this case.
Did you have any conversations with Dr. Blake about this case?
I had some conversations just with regard to communications with regard to sending me photographs and things like that.
Are you aware that Dr. Blake was present during testing by the Department of Justice in this case?
Yes.
Did you communicate with Dr. Blake about any of what he observed about this case in terms of testing by DOJ?
There was some communication about DNA concentrations. Other than that, no.
So in other words, you didn't have any regular communications whatsoever with Dr. Blake about what he may have seen going on during testing at DOJ?
That's true.
You mentioned another name, Mark Taylor, right?
Yes.
Is Mr. Taylor involved in this case?
He was the individual who accompanied me for the visit to the LAPD and took the photographs.
Is he a consultant in this case as well for the defense?
I'm not sure what his role is. I just know he was involved in that way.
You also mentioned the name Simon Ford, correct?
Yes.
Is Simon Ford a forensic DNA analyst?
Yes.
Does he perform casework?
No.
Does he perform any testing whatsoever on forensic evidence?
Not that I'm aware of.
You also mentioned Benjamin Grunbaum, correct?
Yes.
Does Dr. Grunbaum perform any forensic analysis on casework to your knowledge?
been in forensics for probably 30 years, but he doesn't at the moment.
Well, objection, move to strike, Your Honor. Can you tell us any case he's ever performed using DNA typing?
Not with DNA.
You have no specific forensic training, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
You've never taken a class in forensic science?
That's correct.
You've never taught a class in forensic science?
That's correct.
No, but I did
You have
watch
no
the
training
OJ
whatsoever
trial,
in police evidence gathering techniques,
and I
correct?
slept at a Holiday
formal
Inn
training.
last night.
Well, is a class formal training or informal training by your use?
It'd be formal.
Have you had any class and any workshop whatsoever in the collection of physical evidence in a criminal case?
No.
Is it true that you have no personal experience whatsoever in the collection of physical evidence?
That's true.
Have you conducted any validation studies involving the analysis of forensic samples?
No.
It's true, isn't it, that you've conducted no experiments in the forensic area?
That's true.
You've done no studies to determine the effects of sunlight, rain, moisture, etc. on crime scene samples, isn't that correct?
I haven't done any studies myself.
Your expertise, in your view, doesn't involve statistics at all, correct?
That's correct.
As far as this area of forensic DNA analysis, your role is reviewing data from other labs that have conducted testing, correct?
That's true.
And in fact, that's what you've done in this case.
That's true.
You've never tested evidence in a criminal case, correct?
No, I haven't.
You are not an expert in the analysis of evidentiary material using DNA, correct?
I believe I have expertise that speaks to that due to my experience in observing what's going on, reading the forensic literature, and other cases I've been involved with, yes.
Haven't you previously testified that you do not consider yourself an expert in the analysis of evidentiary material using DNA?
I believe I probably stated it the same way I just did.
Do you believe you're an expert in analyzing evidence using DNA typing?
Physically doing the testing?
Correct.
No.
Is it correct that your only connection with forensic cases is reviewing another laboratory's work, usually at the request of a defense attorney?
That's the majority of my experience.
Well, how many times have you been retained by a prosecutor?
Once.
Did that involve a case where a prosecutor was trying to keep DNA evidence out?
Yes.
Was that the only time you've been retained by a prosecutor?
Yes.
So is
Nope, sir, just slow down. You're going way too fast for all of us. Okay. Two more sleeps, and we'll be done with this guy. 2 more sleeps, and he'll be off the stand. Oh, wait. Oh, no, I lied. He just wearing a different suit next. Yeah. He's on the stand for, I think in the middle of those 2 sleeps, there's a 14-minute motions hearing we get to listen to. And then 2 more sleeps. I hope. I don't know, though, because the next few, they don't show who's on the stand. But then Dr. Lee comes on the stand, guys. You know, the Dr. Lee. All right. We're going to stop there today. It's Saturday. We're going to get to work, and then we're going to do it again tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for coming out, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye, guys.